You and I had a conversation after your last fight. I think it was in Hawaii, or not your last fight, but the fight in Hawaii. We talked about this, like in terms of you looked phenomenal in Hawaii. We've talked about your frustration a little bit with 135, potentially 145. You can even go all the way up to 155. Where's your home gonna lie at? I mean, obviously this fight being in Japan, but then coming back into Bellator, settling that 135-pound title when the winner of the Grand Prix fighting Sergio. Where do you still lie? Where do you want? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, that's going to be the talk with after this fight is like, okay, where do you need me? Like, obviously, the money fights right now are at 35. Like, I could go in there right now and definitely beat Borix and Mads Burnell and Pedro Cavallo. I've tried to get those fights and I've gotten turned down. But it was like, okay, like for now, my season is at 135. So let's finish writing this out because I know I'm one of the best 135ers. It does take a process to get there, but I just need to know, and that was my conversation that I had with Kogan and Coker. Just let me know. That's it. Like if you need me at this weight class, and I know that I'm have to bounce around in order to find fights or get fights and stay active, then I'll stay at 135. Just keep me active. That way, I'm not going in between 135 waiting 6 to 7 months to fight again, and I'm starting my camp out at 185, 190, because these things do take time, and I do train and I do lift, and I'm wrestling some of the best wrestlers in the world and coaching some really high profile wrestlers that I have to gain that weight in order for them. And just I enjoy my life. I like to eat. I'm Hispanic, so we definitely eat
You you
heavy.
definitely must like to eat if you're at 180. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like it, yeah, and it's not that like I don't get fat, right? I'm not like I have muscle, like I lift throughout these times. I'm training
Yeah.
still, but it's like my muscles do get fed. Cutting down on 135, and then all of a sudden you eat and you start eating breads and pastas and refined carbohydrates that your body hadn't been used to in the 12 weeks of preparation. Now all of a sudden it's lingering around. Like that's just the thing. It's like I'll live this clean lifestyle if I know I'm going to stay this 135, which I plan on. And because those are big fights right now, like Rufio and Stott rematch, the Patchy Mix rematch, the Sergio Pettis rematch, like those are the next three fights that I see myself fighting. Like
Hmm.
whoever loses in the finals, I know I'm having next. Like there's no
Hmm.
doubt in my mind. But if they throw someone else at me before that finals happen, because I don't know if they said the date or not on the Grand Prix. But if not, then put me against Magomedov. Come up in as soon as possible. Or whoever it may be.
So we talked about Patchy Mix. You train with him. We talked about the fights that happened that night. Sergi Rafael Stotts is now in the finals. But let's talk about the one that got basically propped up that whole thing with between him and Rafael Stotts was Danny Sabatello. Well, give me some thoughts on him. He's kind of exploded into Bellator, big time talking piece. What do you think of his performance? That did you think Rafael won that? And then where do you see him in this mix at 135?
Yeah, I mean, definitely has to learn how to grow, right? Like I think when I was around his career with fights he had, I was very similar, but I would use my ground and pound more because I was more of a ground and pound artist and I was just wrestling and control and looking for a submission. I'd rather punch someone than submit them. So I think he definitely has a lot of talent. I knew both of those guys. I mean, I knew that it was going to be a style of fight like that, that it was going to be very, to me, wasn't really entertaining because I knew the exchange that was going to happen. Um, and they were just gonna talk it up and then not deliver. I thought that Magomedov and Patchy were gonna deliver, and I thought that was the most underrated fight that was going to be talked about because I knew how well Patchy was going to come out and look grappling wise. But with these two, Sabatello just needs to believe a little more in his stand up, which is scary because he really hasn't had that for me, I'm gonna be honest. In King of the Cage, Joe Daddy made me carry people on those 5 rounds just to get comfortable on my feet. And then when I got into the bigger promotions, it was like in bigger and better fights, I was a lot more confident. I don't think when he came up, he was able to take the time and really develop inside the cage. So his cage time wasn't as much on his feet as it is with the grappling. Now with Stotts, you see the opposite. Like he very defensive, which is a Rufus Sports type of style of fighting. Very defensive, wait on you, try to lull you to sleep, play the distance game, which is fine. But at the same time, now you don't have offense to show how good your wrestling is. Like you do have good wrestling, I do admit, but again, it's similar to your stand-up style. It's very defensive. Like you'll do something if someone is offensive, you do it defensively to get the takedown. Put some offense together and show how really well rounded your offense is that leads into your great wrestling that you have. I do agree he does have really good wrestling and it's Division 2 style wrestling, and that doesn't take it away that he's a Division 2 champion. But Sabatello now, he showed that okay, he showed Salvatella, look at I could defend your takedowns. You're a Division 1 athlete, you're a Big Ten athlete, I get it. But I do have comparable wrestling with you. And he showed that, which was props to him. And it did make it for an entertaining wrestling fight that I was watching. I was like, damn, these guys are going at it. To the untrained eye, they're not going to see the technicality of each sport, each transition that went on in that fight. Because it is hard. Like Sabatella, it's hard to hold someone down, especially someone like Stotts, and own that much time of riding time. Like in college, you get points for riding time. You get points for takedowns and things like that. The control, you win the wrestling match like that. But when you don't do damage and you don't show grounded pound, just punch 5 times every 20 seconds and you win the fight. Like that's it.
Hello.
Like yeah, all you got to do is punch the body, knee the legs, and you would have won the fight. Show activity, do something. Don't complain about, oh, I controlled them. Yeah, you controlled them, but 5 shots every 20 seconds would have gave you the go ahead to win the rounds, man.